I'm AJ Hoge, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. Speak English fluently. Speak English powerfully. Speak English confidently. Think in English. So not translating. Think in English. Speak automatically. Speak English effortlessly. Effortlessly. Commit to my VIP program. Commit to that training. It's daily training, weekly training, monthly training, yearly training. Moving forward, step by step, training to speak English powerfully, fluently, effortlessly. You commit to my VIP program. Don't just join. Commit. Commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. Commit at effortlessenglishclub.com. The last show I talked about virtues. Connected to this idea of character that we've been talking about with our book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The truth is, though, in our modern media world, and this is international, I've traveled all around the world and I see it everywhere, that our virtues have been weakened, have been, in some cases, destroyed. I see it very clearly in my own country, the United States of America. I've seen the results traveling in other places, in Asia, throughout Europe, throughout the world. I see it online from all of you. I can tell from your questions, your comments, your worries, that you are facing the same problems. We have a global, an international crisis caused by forgetting these virtues. Or maybe we kind of remember them, but we're not focused on them. Our society, our cultures, our identity is not focused on these virtues anymore. I'll talk about why in a minute, but let's talk about the results. What's the result of this? Our virtues being destroyed, our heritage, our cultures being destroyed around the world. Everywhere I go, these traditional virtues and cultures are being destroyed. The beauty of those cultures being destroyed. The traditional American virtues and cultures being destroyed quickly. They call it globalism, like that's some great thing, like we'll all be one big globe and people. But what it really means, we'll all be one people, one globe of slaves, of unvirtuous, not virtuous slaves. I don't want one world culture. That sucks. Why? There's no need to travel. The reason I traveled was to learn from and experience the beauty of many different cultures. I love Thai culture, from Thailand, Thai culture. Beautiful culture with great traditional virtues, a great history that's unique, that's special. Japan, the same. I don't want Japan to be America. That's terrible. I don't want Japan to be the same as Europe and the same as South America and the same as Mexico and the same as, everywhere else. Just like I don't want my friends to be exactly the same. I don't want my family members to be the same. I don't want my mom and my dad and my sister to be exactly the same. I love that they're different. Each one is very special and unique. Each one has their own strengths. And yes, of course, they have their own weaknesses too. We all do. We can all see this with individual people. If you look at any group, like your own family or your friends, right? You can see you don't want your family, you don't want your children to all be exactly the same, do you? To look the same, to act the same, to believe the same things, to have the exact same personality. How horrible is that? They're just machines then. They just become machines, programs. That's what globalism is. It's what's being done to us. That's why our cultures are being destroyed. That's why our traditions are being destroyed. That's why our religions are being destroyed. That's why our virtues are being destroyed. The result I see, should say results I see in people around the world and online, which means globally. Well, number one, I see a lot of loneliness and isolation. A lot of people feel unconnected. They don't feel they belong to anyone, any group, anything anymore. Now that's bad for human beings. We are social creatures, right? We're not individual animals or beings. We're meant to have families and to be part of not just small families, but large families traditionally. I mentioned again, I looked at my own family history, 900 years old, only until my dad's generation. Up until my dad's generation, I should say. Up until my dad's generation, so 900 years, big families, big, large, extended families. Every person born, every baby born into my family, any time in that history, immediately they were part of a big group, right? A large extended family, not just mom and dad, but usually many brothers and sisters, not just one or two, but many, and also many uncles and aunts, and also many cousins, and they all lived in fairly close area. They were never isolated. There was never any feeling of being alone. Even if they were single, maybe they weren't married yet, and they maybe that part was maybe they weren't happy. Even if they didn't have many friends, it didn't matter because they automatically had this huge group they were part of automatically. They were accepted, right? They were accepted because they were family. So there was never any question, never any problem of feeling isolated, of just being completely alone with your problems, right? There were so many people to help and to support and to accept you. That's healthy. That is healthy. That is normal and healthy and natural for human beings. What is very unnatural is what we have now, where people are living so separately and so many people feel kind of lonely, unconnected. Of course, we don't have many people don't have big families anymore. Many kids, they become teenagers or young adults. They don't feel a good connection to their own parents. They don't really have much connection to cousins or uncles or aunts. And so they're just kind of everybody living isolated and alone. Not everybody, but many people. It's so common, this loneliness, this feeling of isolation, of not belonging. And of course, it's more than just family, because the other part of it, when you look through history, is that, number one, you were part of a big family, but you were also part of a community. My mom, she constantly tells me stories about her childhood. And she talks about how in the town where she grew up, this small town, that everybody knew everybody. So it was not just her own family. She had this big family in the town, so she had all these family members, uncles and aunts and cousins and grandparents, and of course brothers and sisters. But also just neighbors, right? Because her big family had friends. They were friends with other big families. So they all knew each other. And everybody helped and watched for each other. This is why they could, as children, even small children, they could run around freely in the town. Mom and dad didn't need to watch them every second. Why not? Well, because everybody in the town was helping and watching. Right? The neighbors also were watching. If the neighbors saw some strange person try to grab a kid or do something bad, the neighbors would come and help. The other family members would come and help. So it was a very safe environment because there was a very strong connection and belonging to an identity, connected to family and connected to community. Altogether, I would say, you could call that your people. Those were one people. And of course, that's the foundation. That's the building blocks, the foundation, the basic units of a healthy nation, a healthy culture, a healthy society. Those families and communities. So the reason, for my own country, the reason America was so much healthier and happier at that time when my mom was a kid was because of those strong families, those strong communities. The strong families, the strong communities made strong states, strong cities, strong towns, and overall a strong country. But now as those all break down, divorce, how many poor children have their families broken? It's over half now. Small families, so people are not having many children. So it's more isolation, fewer, smaller families. And then there's the moving around, and I'm guilty of this myself. My dad was guilty of this. He did this to me, and it was probably the worst part about my childhood. Otherwise, my parents were quite wonderful. But my dad moved around because of his job. He constantly moving us around every few years. It was horrible, so unnatural, so terrible, because I never had any connection to a community, right? Because every few years, just as I was, I'd have these good friends and feeling part of this place, this town, this community, and then boom, we pick up and move far away, and I have to start again completely. And then again, I would start to get some of those connections, feel I belonged, and then boom, we'd move again. And a lot of people do this. This is quite normal. And now the situation, which is quite normal around the world, is you don't know your neighbors. You have no community. There's no community. The community's dead in most places. This is true where I live now. I don't know my neighbors. I never even talk to them. The people who live next to me. Don't even know their names, know nothing about them at all. No wonder, right? It's not a surprise that so many people feel lost. And they feel that they're lost and there's no one to help. There's no one to support them. They don't belong. They have no identity. They have no group. This is the result of globalism. It's a tragedy. It's horrible. And it makes people very, very, very unhappy. Now, another part of this is what's called alienation. This is a nice word. Alienation. Alienation, it's connected to this idea. It's a feeling of separation, right? That you're not connected. Alienation, you're not connected. And it also has the idea of having like no meaning. Like a feeling of that there's no purpose in your life. No purpose. Like your life has no meaning, no purpose. This, right? So one, you feel kind of isolated, and also you feel like, what am I doing? I don't know. Why? What's the meaning of my life? What's the purpose? There's nothing bigger than me. It's just my little life. Alienation. I think it was Hemingway in the last century, back in the 1900s, that said he thought, Ernest Hemingway, the writer, he thought alienation was the number one problem or disease in the world, right? Spiritual disease, alienation. They're connected, see, because when you have nothing bigger than you, not a group, like your family and community, or your nation even. Not God or a religion. There's nothing bigger than just you and your little tiny life. It's hard to feel a purpose. I mean, a purpose is to feel meaning and purpose in your life. Like you have a purpose. Well, it is beyond just you. Automatically. You'll try this. This is the problem with just self-help. Again, this is the problem with those performance skills only. It's nice to be successful. It's nice to win competitions. It's nice to be rich. But if you do it alone, if there's no bigger purpose, nothing bigger than you that you're a part of, that you're connected to, then it's empty. It feels empty. So again, this is why you see so many rich and famous people who seem miserable. And we're told again and again, and directly and indirectly, in movies, TV, advertising, books, constantly we get the message, right, that it's, the lifestyles of the rich and famous, money and fame. Maybe you could add power to that. Money, fame, and power. So awesome, right? That's the key. And they make it, the advertising and the marketing makes it look so fantastic. But when you look just a little bit at the real situation, you see most of these people seem very, very unhappy. So why is that? Well, it's because just your own personal success, if it's all alone, what does it mean? To just be rich, but then just to be in your house alone all the time with all your money? There's no amount of cars or big houses or anything can replace family and community and purpose. That's why they feel empty. Now, when you have family, community, purpose, something much, much bigger than yourself, when you are fighting to succeed, not just to help yourself, but for those other much bigger things, for those other people, for your group, your people, it does feel meaningful. You're going beyond yourself, and I think we as humans, there's something inside. Again, C.S. Lewis called it kind of a natural law. Others have used that phrase too. You could call it a spiritual intuition, but there's something in us that pulls us, that makes us want to go beyond just ourselves. You can't deny that, because when we don't have it, almost all of us are miserable. There might be a few psychopaths that don't feel that way, but most of us need that desperately. Another part of this is the feeling of boredom. This is when I had to fight for a while. Because I noticed this myself too. Just succeeding for myself only, I would be excited and enjoy it for, I don't know, a short time. And then I just get bored very quickly. Okay, whatever. Just didn't feel very satisfying in the end. In fact, usually it was the struggle, the fight, the challenge. That was the fun and interesting part. When I actually achieved the success, if it was only for me or mostly for me, then I just kind of would lose my interest very quickly. Again, you'll see this. I think you can see this a lot. A typical example would be someone who's fighting to make a business or have financial success, and they start getting some financial success, but if it's just for them, eventually they kind of lose the desire for it, or just maybe get bored with it. But if they're doing it for their family, if they're doing it for their community, or maybe some other cause or purpose much bigger than themselves, then they will keep going and going and going, because they know they are contributing, and contributing never ends. You can continue to contribute bigger and bigger and bigger. It's the same for me with Effortless English. If I was just doing, if only Effortless English just for business and some money, I mean, I do need that for my family, of course, but I wouldn't be super motivated because it's already quite successful. But I know it's more than that. It's bigger than that. I'm trying to contribute to people all around the world with this great Effortless English family we have. I kind of think of it as it's like a fraternity of free people. Fraternity means like brotherhood or sisterhood. Specifically, it means brotherhood, but it can be both. Of free people, right? Free and independent people around the world. I feel like I'm doing something, trying to do something, a purpose that's bigger than just me, bigger than just a business. And so I keep going, and I'm not bored. I never get bored with it because of that. But boredom is a big problem. Depression is another one I see a lot. A lot of people just feel kind of depressed or unmotivated. There's no motivation. They just can't, I just can't get myself to do anything. Just don't care very much. I've seen this in our discussions many times when we talk about purpose, contribution, these kind of big ideas. One of maybe the most common comment I get is, AJ, how do I find my purpose? I just don't have it. I just don't feel any feeling of purpose. Well, it's because of that isolation. It's because nobody feels like they belong to any group anymore. They don't have that family. They don't have the community. Their culture's falling apart. Their tradition is falling apart. It's all being destroyed. Everybody's isolated, just focused on themselves only. So it is difficult then to, how do I have a purpose when I feel this disconnection, right? Lack of connection, no connection. And it is a terrible feeling to feel like you have no purpose in your life. And a final thing I notice as a result of this globalist evil we're all facing is weakness. On one hand, like a low lack of confidence, just a general lack of confidence in yourself. A lot of people struggle with this, especially younger people. They just don't have any confidence about anything. They don't have that strength, right? Why? Well, it's all connected. When you have a feeling of purpose, when you really feel you have a purpose in your life, there's like a meaning, a purpose, you're working for something bigger than you, then it gives you quite a lot of confidence. Because even if you're weak, even if you're not great, you still feel like you're doing good work, that it's important work you're doing in the world. And so you'll fight and fight and fight and do your best. It's like, I'll use a sports example. It's like if you're just a soccer player Let's use soccer as an example. If you're a soccer player, well, what if you're only one person? You're just a one-person soccer player, right? It's hard to be motivated. How would you be motivated to keep practicing and practicing all the time, and to try to work hard? You'd feel no purpose because you're not part of a team. You're just alone. You're just kind of kicking the ball around, but you never play. You're not part of a team. You're not part of anything else. No one else. You're not contributing. So of course you would lose your motivation eventually. Of course you would feel like you were isolated, right? On the other hand, if you're part of a team, like a good team, a team with a strong connection, really good teamwork, well, then you suddenly become very motivated. Why? Because you're working for the team, not just yourself. You're going to practice hard. You're going to do your best. Even if you're not the best player, you might not be. Maybe you mostly are a substitute, right? Maybe you're not a starter. You don't start the game because you're not good enough yet. But I mean, you're a backup, right? But sometimes you come in, somebody's hurt or injured, somebody's tired, and then you go into the game and you fight and you do your best. You're part of the team. Because of that, even if you're not the best, you feel purpose, right? You feel motivation. You feel a confidence and energy. You also feel you belong. You're part of this team, and the other team members also feel the same about you. You don't have to be the superstar. There's only a few stars on the team. But everybody has to contribute, right? Everyone's part of the team. On a good team, at least. There are some bad teams that don't do this, and they usually lose. But on good teams, every player's valuable, even the ones that are not so good, that just the substitutes, the backups, because they also have an important role, an important position. They are needed sometimes, and that's very important. When you are needed, you feel that meaning and that purpose. You become very, very, very motivated to train and to improve and to do your very best. It's a big difference. But if you're just alone, a soccer player all alone, right, you're going to get bored. What's the point? Why do it after a while? But that's how I think most of us feel now. I've seen it everywhere in the world, all around the world, and teaching and meeting people and traveling, and in my own country, my own life. It's like we're all just that soccer player that by ourselves, right? Or maybe with one other person or a couple people. But we don't really have a team. This is what has happened to our cultures and our countries and our communities and our families all around the world. It's not an accident. It didn't happen by accident everywhere in the world. It was planned. How do we know it was planned? Well, we know. Read Orwell. Remember Animal Farm? Remember 1984? Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, they were warning us. They were warning us because there was a plan to do exactly this. If you read 1984, this is exactly the kind of world Orwell describes. Everybody is isolated and broken apart. Nobody has their own team, right? It's just the one big government over everybody. The one world government. Families have been destroyed, communities destroyed, everybody isolated, no feeling of purpose. Just obey, obey, obey. The people controlling at the top. Orwell didn't write that as some entertaining book. It's not entertaining, it's depressing, right? Nobody reads 1984 for fun. It's not a fun book. It's a super unhappy book, right? I don't know many people who enjoy reading the book. It's not an enjoyable book. He did not write it for fun, like a cool adventure story. He wrote it as a warning to show us the plan of what they were trying to do. and what they are in fact doing now. And Aldous Huxley, when he wrote Brave New World, same thing. He was trying to warn us. He was trying to show us the methods, the techniques they were going to use to create this kind of one world culture, one world government, one world economy. Not so we can all live in peace. That's what they say, but no. So we can all be slaves. Alone, isolated, depressed, with no feeling of purpose, no meaning in our lives. Easy to control that way. Now, who is they? The big evil they at the top. I call them the people of the lie. People of the lie. L-I-E. Lie, like liar. L-I-A-R, liar. People who lie and don't tell the truth. Because their power is in lying and deception. It's not so much, guns. They're not conquering the world with bullets so much. They've gained control at the top through lies and deceptions. We all kind of know who they are, right? It's the globalist bankers, the globalist giant companies. These monster banks, basically. These monster banks and banking families that control all the biggest companies around the world, and through controlling the money, the banks, the central banks, these private central banks, they control governments, they own all the big media companies. And when they control the governments, that gives them control of the police, that gives them control of the military, right? But they do it through the money supply. Some people call them the globalists because their goal is, again, this 1984 global prison where everybody's the same. Every country, the same. Every culture, the same. Every town, basically the same. The education, the schools in every town and every country, everywhere, the same. Everybody isolated, families weak and broken up. No tradition, no religion, no culture. People of the lie. They win by lying. It's deception. They are masters of lying. That's their power. That's their superpower. Masters of lying. That's how they have gained so much power and done this to us. By lying to us, by being masters of lying, of course, using the media to make this even more powerful. And through the lies, they confuse us. They destroy our virtues. They get us to focus on false virtues, on lies instead of truth. What we need is truth and honor. What we need are families and faith. Families and faith, truth and honor. These are the traditional values, right, that guided us, that kept us strong and happier. Good communities. But they've destroyed all of that with lies. Now, some people call them Marxists. Marxists certainly are evil. They're part of this group for sure. Globalists. They come in different groups, the fake news, the fake media, because they own the media companies, including social media, Twitter and Facebook and all those. I often focus on the fake schools, because they teach lies that destroy families. We've talked about this with John Taylor Gatto in his book, right? The fake schools. Fake money. Right? These central banks they control, these private central banks, they just print the money with debt. So they make us into debt slaves, right? They enslave us by owing money. Governments owing them money. Right? It's not, your government does not control your money. Right? The American government, for example, Donald Trump or whoever, Obama before him, they did not control the money of America. It's not the American government. The American government does not print the dollar. The American government does not create the dollar. It's a private bank. private bank, owned by private banking families, such as the Rothschilds, the Warburgs, some others too. They control and make and print the American money. That's why when we say, oh, America, the debt in America, the American government has a lot of debt, right? They owe all this money. Well, who do they owe money to? Why do they owe money? Why can't they just print their own money? They owe money to these private banks because the private banks control the money, not the U.S. government. Some of you may know about the American Civil War. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Right? He was the leader of the North. Now, Abraham Lincoln had some problems. I'm not a big fan of Abraham Lincoln since I'm a Southerner. But anyway, Abraham Lincoln did have his intention. He was planning to take the bank, and control it for the American government, the American people. Right? He did not like this idea of a private bank. A lot of people think that's why he was assassinated, because he was against the bankers. If you do some research about all the different countries around the world, you will find the situation is the same everywhere in the world, where the central bank then is not really a national bank. The central bank of your country, probably it's not your government that owns it. Your government probably does not own your central bank. It's probably owned by, again, these same private banking families. So those are the ones. When we're talking about the globalists, or, who are these people who are doing this to us? Who are these people who are destroying our culture and doing all this? Well, if you want to go to the top, that's who. What is their method? How are they doing this to us? Is the next question. Right? The reason I'm talking about this, I know this seems a little depressing. It is a little depressing to think about. But you know what? We have to think about it. If you're sick, if you're physically sick, you have a disease, right? There's something wrong with you. Well, the first step is you have to say, yeah, I'm sick. Right? You can't just pretend you're not sick. That's not going to help you. Step 2, you have to figure out, well, what's causing the sickness, right? What kind of sickness do I have, and what's causing it? And then after you know that, you can figure out a cure, right? Something to make yourself stronger again, to heal yourself, to fight the sickness. So if we know the source of the sickness, these central banking families that then control these huge corporations, right? Everybody hates the huge companies. People who say they're on the left, people who say they're on the right. I think they all recognize the source of this. The Marxists, the globalists, whatever you want to call them. But next, how are they doing it? How, right? What's the nature? If we diagnose this disease, how have they destroyed our families, our cultures, our history, our purpose, our identity? Made us feel so isolated. How are they making this 1984 Orwell situation? Well, their main method, I've looked at it, I've thought about it a lot. I really have looked about this and thought about it a lot and examined it. Trying to get it as simple as possible in my mind, right? Because like I said, I named a lot of different things. Well, there's the banking, there's the money supply, there's the fake news media, fake schools, fake education, fake money, all this stuff, fake markets where they destroy small businesses, and just have these giant businesses that the government and the big banks help these big, huge businesses, but the small businesses, family businesses like farmers and small businesses, they all get destroyed or eaten up. So there's all these different techniques, so what's the central one though? What's the main way they destroy? And I figured it out, and that's why I call them people of the lie. What they do is corruption. Corruption is their method. They corrupt what is good and true, and they turn it to bad. Using lies. Corruption means something is good, something is healthy, and then you make it the opposite. Right? If someone is virtuous, for example, they're honest and true and good and moral. If you corrupt them, like you offer them money to do something bad, we say you are corrupting them. What are you doing? Well, you're changing something that's beautiful and good and true, and you're changing it into something bad, right? So this is the thing. They don't create. This is something to think about with this enemy we all face. They don't create. They can't create beauty. They can't. They cannot create beauty. They cannot create truth. They cannot build civilizations. They don't build civilizations. They don't really build anything good. What they do is they come in to something that's already there, already built, already strong, already good, and then using lies, they corrupt it. They change it into something bad. So they come into your country, they take the situation in your country, all the things good about your country, your history, your heritage, your religion, and then with lies and deception, they change these things gradually into the opposite, into something bad. So that's how they do it. They have to take over. It's kind of like parasites. You know, it's like a parasite or an infection, right? A bacteria. They can't live by themselves. They have to go into a body that's healthy, and then what do? Then the disease starts to multiply, and it steals from the body nutrition and energy, and then the body gets more sick and more sick and more sick. The body gets corrupted by the disease. So this is their method, right? They don't build their own country and make it very strong and then attack other countries. It's not that kind of thing. They come into your country, they pretending to be nice, pretending to be good, and then they corrupt it in all different areas and turn it into something bad. So it's kind of a parasite or an infection strategy. So an example of this, I'll give you a lot of examples. Let's go through different examples that you can probably see in the world. The reason we're studying this and talking about this is so that you can begin to understand the problem. See, one reason people are so depressed is because they're confused. They feel depressed. They feel no purpose in their life. They feel isolated and alone. They feel bored. They feel they have no meaning, but they're not quite sure why. They don't quite understand what's wrong. And so they blame themselves a lot of times. A lot of times they blame themselves. Like, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm just lazy. Maybe I'm not social, and that's why I'm kind of lonely and isolated. Maybe I don't have a purpose, really. No, it's not you, okay? If it was only you in the world and everybody else was happy, okay, maybe we might say something's wrong with you. But look around, okay? Most people in the world, in every country in the world, are feeling the same way. Some less and some more. But it's a very big, gigantic problem all around the world. So it's not you, okay? It's not you. So the reason to talk about this, even though it's a little heavy, is so you can start to wake up. This is part of the red pill. You can start to wake up and understand, that's why I'm feeling depressed. That's why I feel kind of isolated. That's why I feel no purpose. That's why my motivation's low. This is why, okay? It's not an accident. So corruption, right? Like an infection. They come into something healthy and they change it to something bad. I'll give you an example. Truth. Truth is goodness, right? Let's talk about virtues. How they attack virtues and they change them into something else. Connecting back to our topic of virtues. You know, virtues give us strength. Virtues make us spiritually, mentally, and emotionally strong and healthy. That's why these virtues together create happy lives, happy families, happy and strong communities, happy and strong nations. Okay, that's why the Greeks and the Romans taught these virtues. And of course, you can go to any healthy culture in history around the world, and they had some variation of virtues. They're all quite similar. Truth and honor, family and faith, wisdom, strength, courage. So let's talk about this. So what they do is they corrupt these. So truth is a virtue, right? Truth or honesty is a virtue. The truth, true information. What the enemy does is corrupt it. So they give us fake news, right? It's a phrase we hear a lot now. Fake news. Well, exactly. Because now, instead of truth, we get lies, lies, lies. The news is lies. CNN is like lies and lies, lies and lies. All those big news companies. Lies, lies, lies. Television, newspapers, magazines, doesn't matter. Lies, lies, lies. Now, one thing about this, they're not stupid, these guys. Okay, this enemy we have, these people of the lie, they're the best liars in the whole world, okay? You're facing an enemy that is very tough. So they're not stupid. They don't just tell obvious lies. Usually, the way they lie is it's a 2-part or a 3-part lie. The first part is something true. The first part, they give you real information, and then the second part is where they corrupt it and they give you false information. So you think, well, the first part's true, and then you, in your mind, in the back of your mind or subconscious, you then accept the second part, which is the lie. For example, individualism. This is one they used on America. America had a strong virtue of individualism, right? This is one of our great values. It's one of the things that's, I don't know about uniquely American, but quite special, I'd say, about American values. Americans were always famous for being these strong individuals, that individualism was one of our very strong values and one that we put at the top, maybe more than a lot of other people. And by individualism, here's the true part. So they would push individualism. Well, the true part, the good part of individualism is to be responsible. It's basically what we just learned from our book with Stephen Covey, right? He talks about, independence. That's the other way to say it. Independence, right? Americans are independent. Independence, right? Our country was created in the very beginning by a document, by something called the Declaration of Independence. We are independent from England. We're very proud of independence. It's a great virtue of America and Americans. Well, it is very good. So the liars, the corruptors, the globalists, they don't just go against it. They don't say, no, don't be independent. They're smarter than that. See, the good part of independence we learned in the book, right? You have to be responsible for yourself. It means you're responsible for yourself. You don't blame everybody else for your problems. You're proactive, right? This can be very motivating. It can make you very strong as a person when you're independent. You don't cry when things are going badly. You take control of your own life. Self-mastery. These are all the good things about independence. But the people of the lie is they take that and then they corrupt it, right? They take something good and they change it into something evil. Using a lie, a deception. So what they did was they started to push this idea of independence, but they said, yes, independence is good, independence is great. But then what did they do? Then they started to say, only independence is good. They started to lie. The second part, the lie, is that cooperation is bad. Group identity is bad. Right? So they push this one virtue, but they push to the extreme so that independence is good, but being part of a big family, caring about your family is bad. Cooperating, working with other people is bad. Being part of a group is bad. See, they used our virtue of independence against us to make us lonely and isolated, to make our families weaker, to make our communities and our groups weaker. But the truth is, as we know from Stephen Covey, we're learning now, independence is not the opposite of cooperation. No, it's just the first step. We're social. If you're independent, it doesn't mean you're alone. That's stupid. It's crazy. Independent means you are responsible for your life, but it also means you cooperate and help others, other people who are also responsible. It means the best team has players that are proactive, that are each working hard to improve, to contribute. Right? Again, if we go to our sports example, with no independence, it means each player, they don't try. They don't try to be their best player possible. They don't do their best, right? They're just kind of lazy. They don't care. They think, oh, the other players, they'll do the work. The other players, they can score the goals. The other players can work hard, so I don't have to do anything. That's like Marxism. Communism. That's Marxism, right? But true independence means I will work hard, I will train hard, I will practice, I will do everything I can to be the best player possible, to be the best I can be. I will do my best and help the team. Not just for me, but for the whole team. So independence is not the opposite of cooperation. Independence serves. Independence helps cooperation. Independence helps the group. You're doing your best. You're becoming the best you can be. You're being responsible for yourself, for your effort, for your actions, so you can help the group, so you can be a great team member. Right? But what they do is they change that second part. So it's just be independent, just be independent, just be independent. So then you have all these people only caring about themselves, right? They corrupt it. Instead, they make independence become selfishness, right? The corruption of independence is selfishness, right? Independence is a very positive virtue, but the negative version, the corrupt version, the negative version of independence is selfishness. That's when you only care about yourself. Who cares about other people? Right? They change it. They destroy the virtue and make it into something bad. This is what Marxism is, really, what we saw with Animal Farm. Marxism is basically a fake religion. It's a fake religion. It's meant to replace true religions. Right? So the revolution becomes God. Equality becomes God instead of God. We saw this in Animal Farm, right? So they try to create the same religious emotion, but using politics, using equality. Everyone is equal, but some are more equal than others. Equality is another corruption. Equality is a lie. 100% a lie. There is no equality in life. There's no equality in humans. There's no equality in animals. It's a lie. It's another fake virtue. How did they change this? See, the real virtue, equal, meant equal rules. Like when Americans, for example, even the French or wherever you look around, where equality is a virtue, what it meant was equality under the law, which means equal rules. So again, if we use our soccer example, it means that when teams play, when everyone plays soccer, we all follow equal rules, right? Not one special rule for one team and different rules for another team. No, it's the same rules. You cannot use your hands except the goalie. Okay, every team, it doesn't matter. Manchester United, Real Madrid, Barcelona, whatever, AC Milan, right? It's the same rules for all of them. When they play each other, it's the same rules. You don't change the rules. That's equality, right? Equal under the rules. It does not mean every team is equal, obviously. It does not mean every player must be equal. Right? But that's what Marxism is. That's what we see now constantly with this cultural Marxism. Equality, equality. And what do they mean? They mean actually the opposite. It's another clever lie. Because what they really mean is not equality. What they really mean is different rules for everybody. It means that if one player is faster, then they're going to put like a weight on him. He's going to have to carry a heavy weight while he plays the game because it's not fair. He's faster than some other player. It means if one team is weaker, then they can use their hands, but the stronger team cannot use their hands. Right? They're trying to make the outcome equal. So every game is 0-0. Every single player runs the same speed. That's the lie, right? And it creates hell. It creates hell. Read 1984, George Orwell, if you want to see what that creates. It creates hell because it is against nature, against God, against truth. And that will create hell always. So equality, the real meaning of equality is equal rules. So Cristiano Ronaldo has the same rules as Messi, as Ronaldinho, as me. Okay? If we all four played soccer together, we would all have to follow the same rules. Equal rules. Would we be equal players? Of course not. They would destroy me. Okay? I could not play against those guys. Is that evil? Is that somehow bad? No, of course not. I have other strengths. I have other strong points. That's the lie of, and why this becomes so evil, this lie of equality. Because it's not equality that's true, not that way, right? Equal rules, yes. Equal rules create fair games. Equal rules create fair societies, right? Equal rules, equal laws. That's how we create a fair group, a fair society, a fair game, of course. But not equality, not each person's equal. That's a lie and it's evil. It's also no fun. I mean, imagine if I played a game against, let's say, let's say basketball. Because I can play one against one basketball. So it's me against, Stephen Curry. He's a professional. And let's say Stephen Curry, because he's so much better than me, then he can only use one hand, and we put a lot of weight on him. He has to wear a weight vest, and we cover his eyes so he can't see. And then I play against him. And what if I win? Or what if it's even a tie? Do I feel good? Of course not. That's no fun. I know he's better than me. What did I won nothing. It's meaningless. It would remove all the meaning. All the meaning of playing would disappear. There's no purpose anymore. Because it doesn't matter if I win, doesn't matter if I lose, because he is not showing his full strength, his full ability. Now, if he played me 1-to-1 in just a normal game, and somehow, by some miracle of God, I defeated him, then, wow, I would be so crazy. Right? Amazing! Of course, it would not happen, but you get the idea. This lie of equality, this fake equality, the corruption of equality, creates so much misery, so much unhappiness. That's why it creates such hell. Because then people, this lie is used to focus on your jealousy, your envy, or the other people's envy, right? That, oh, they're better than you. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not equal that he's smarter than you. It's not equal that he's a better player than you. And then you're supposed to get jealous and, be upset and hate them and want to pass a bunch of laws and change the rules so that you get special treatment and they can't beat you anymore. But then what does that do then? You focus on being jealous. You focus on hating this other person. You focus on being jealous or envying their ability, their success. When you do that, you don't focus on yourself. You don't look inside yourself to find your strong points. It destroys all beauty in life, because beauty comes from that uniqueness that we all have. Thoreau, one of my favorite writers, Henry David Thoreau, an American writer, he called it your genius. That he believed very strongly that everyone had their own unique genius. Genius means your own special contribution to the world. Something special in you that was good, that you would use then to make life better, to make your people better, your family better, the world better in a little way. I mean, imagine if, for example, if every day I just focused on being angry because I'm a bad soccer player and, Messi's better than me. And every day I would just get angry and upset and jealous of Messi. And even if I tried hard, I know if I practiced a lot, it doesn't matter. I'll never be as good as him. And I just constantly protest and get angry, and I want to change the rules so that Messi cannot be such a good player and I can beat him or be equal to him. Imagine if I did that. Then I would never look at myself and realize, well, I'm really good at speaking and public speaking. I'm pretty good at writing. I'm really good at teaching. I could be a great teacher. I'm good at business. I could be a good business person. There's a lot of strengths I have that I can use to enjoy success myself, to contribute to my family, to contribute to my students and people all around the world, to help people, learn English and live happier lives. Instead of focusing on all the jealousy and this lie of equality, instead I focus on myself and I find my strengths. And I have weak points. Okay, yeah, I'll never be a professional athlete. So what? Messi has his weak points too. He's probably would not be a very good English teacher. Or even Spanish teacher. I don't know. So you can see how it's this corruption of the virtues that is destroying us. Taking something that is good and true and then turning it into something bad. Through half-lies. This is what they do on the news. Recently there was a story in America about this boy and this Indian, Native American guy. And the story in the news, the fake news, was this boy was just this evil kid, this high school kid. He's this evil kid who was being mean to this poor old Native American Indian man. Not Indian from India, but Native American, like with feathers. And they used editing and lies to show it and made it kind of look like this kid was trying to look mean. But then I saw and watched, and on the internet, people started to share the full video, the entire video, the whole thing. And when you watch the whole thing, you realize this old man, this Indian guy with a drum, boom, 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 he walked to this kid. This kid was not bugging him. This kid was just with his friends. They're just standing around doing nothing. And this guy walked up to this kid, into his face, put the drum right in his face, and was harassing him, was trying to annoy him. And the kid was just very patient. He just smiled and did nothing. He didn't yell at him. He didn't say anything bad to him. He didn't push him. Nothing at all. Just smiled and looked at him, and that's it. Great self-control, very peaceful. And then you realize, again, fake news, right? They take this picture, this little bit of truth, and then they create this whole lie around it. Now, this is a technique they use constantly, all the time. The corruption of truth. Another one, kindness. Kindness or love. Let's say love. So again, you start with the truth. Love and kindness. Oh, these are good things. We all know this. Love is wonderful. Love is good. This is a virtue. It's true. So that's the good part, the truth. What do these people of the lie do? Well, they corrupt it, right? They change it into something bad. So they take this good part, love is good, love is good, love is wonderful, and they put that out. Oh, yeah, and we all agree because we know it is true. But then comes the lie. The lie then, what they add is that love is all you need. Love is the only virtue. Love is the best virtue. And this is the corruption. Because then, from there, step 3 is that love means tolerance. Love means acceptance always. Love means surrender and weakness. They take something beautiful and good, love, and then step by step, with lies and confusion, they make it into something evil, weakness, surrender. Well, if you're going to be kind and loving, then you can't fight back when someone attacks you. You got to be forgiving all the time. I like the Beatles, the song, Love is All You Need, but it's a lie. Love is not all you need. You need a lot more than love. It sounds nice, right? But it's a complete lie. And if you think about it, it's obvious. When you think about, for example, how many women around the world love a really bad man who hits them, treats them terribly. I saw this. I used to see this as a social worker. When I was a social worker, one time I worked in a place that tried to help these kind of women. They would, these men were terrible, just evil, evil men, some of these men, and would hit them and beat them. Not only them, but also do terrible things, beat and hit and say horrible things to their children. And yet, some of these women, because of love, I love him, would go back to him again. They would go back to this evil, terrible person again, and then he would do it again and again and again. And of course, we know sometimes it can end very, very badly. And they really, really, really love the man. Love is not all you need. You need more than love. You need wisdom too. If they were wise, even though they loved the man, they would leave anyway because they would know that it was the right thing to do. Love is not enough. You need fortitude. This is one of the cardinal virtues. Fortitude or strength. Cardinal virtues. These are the 4 virtues. They come from Plato. Later, the Christian church adopted them, the cardinal virtues. One of them is fortitude, strength, courage, endurance, kind of all together in that idea. That's one of the important virtues too. You absolutely must have this. If you have kindness but you're weak, you'll become a victim. You're an easy victim. That's why these people of the lie, the media, are constantly pushing tolerance and kindness. Tolerance and kindness. They push those all the time. Why? Because the lie is that those are all you need, that those are the most important virtues. And the big lie is those are the only important virtues. It's just those. Just love, kindness. That's it. If we were all just so love and kind, the world would be perfect. If we were just, if you just be loving and kind and tolerant, everything's great. If you're not tolerant, you're a bad person. If you're not tolerant always, if you're not kind and tolerant always with everyone, then it means you're hateful and bad. That's how they corrupt it and lie. But as we've discussed recently, we know, no, these virtues go together. It's not the one cardinal virtue, it's the four, or even five. Plato listed five, really, because he added holiness. Right? It's the hard and the soft. And one of the most important ones is wisdom or prudence. That means judgment, right? It means making good decisions, moral good decisions. That guides all the other virtues. That's the one that tells you when to be tough and strong, when to fight, when to be soft and kind. Tolerance is not a virtue with evil. If you tolerate evil, you join evil. That's why they push this tolerance so much. That's the main word you see a lot used in the media. Tolerance. Sometimes they call it kindness. Sometimes they use other words, but tolerance. And they say, oh, you're not tolerant. You have to be tolerant. Why? Because they're evil. They want you to tolerate evil. They want you to be a victim. They want you to accept it. They don't want you to fight. This is why in the fake news media, in the fake schools, they don't teach the other virtues. They don't teach wisdom. They don't teach strength and courage and fortitude. They don't teach judgment, justice. They don't teach those because those are strong. Those will make you stronger. They don't teach truth. They don't teach honor. In fact, you'll see, again, usually now in lots of movies and lots of TV shows and the news media, instead they're constantly criticizing or laughing at those virtues. It's why you see that men are constantly attacked in the school system, the war on boys. I did a video about that, the war on boys. It's why in the media and TV and advertising too, how men are constantly being attacked they're made to look stupid, right? That strength, they laugh at strength and they say, oh, strength is bad. They have a phrase, they say toxic masculinity. Toxic means poison. Poison masculinity. Masculinity means being a man, like the qualities of being a man, traditionally. Things like strength and honor, justice, and also kindness, yes. But basically, especially those hard, strong, masculine virtues, they're constantly under attack now. Instead, they push the female virtues, kindness, love, acceptance. You see again how, right? It's the same technique of corruption. They start with some truth. Those female virtues, or those softer virtues, are good in the right situation, with the right timing, used correctly. But if you only have those, if you then attack the masculine virtues, then you become an easy victim. Then you become weak and a victim, easy to control. And that's why they're constantly attacking the male virtues, the strong virtues. Fortitude, strength, wisdom, justice, especially hard justice. Loyalty, truth, honor, duty to your people. These they attack constantly. It's a technique of corruption, of half-truth. Take a little bit of truth and then using lies, corrupt it, change it into something bad, change it into untruth, change it into lies, change it into confusion, change it into evil. That's what we're facing. Everywhere, in all schools around the world, this is what they're teaching. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's so bad in America, truth and honor, you cannot find them in the schools anymore. I mean, they're teaching this, all the crazy stuff with the, transgender stuff. It gets a lot of news, We're now with small kids, like boys, they're taking boys 7 years old and telling them they're girls and putting them in dresses and putting chemicals into them, and it's evil. But this is just the most extreme. It just shows how bad it is now. And it's coming. This is their plan everywhere in the world. It's the same. It's a little slower in some places and a little faster in places like Canada. Maybe Canada's the worst, I don't know. But it's the same plan everywhere. Truth and honor are in big danger everywhere. Family and faith are in big danger everywhere. The virtues, the traditional virtues, are in danger everywhere. And we all feel confused and isolated. What to do? We begin by fighting back. We begin by fighting back, taking back our culture, taking back our family and families, renewing our faith, and committing to truth and honor. I would say these four, if I had to identify our weapons to fight back against this terrible evil and to bring back some meaning and purpose to our lives. Meaning and purpose, not just success. In many past shows I've talked about success, but I started to realize that success it's not enough. Individual success lacks meaning. It's not enough. It's nice, but it's not enough. Yeah, I love Tony Robbins and all his teachings, but it's not enough just to be rich and be successful individually. There's no deeper meaning. There's something empty there. With family, now you can, of course that means your family, and it means doing the best you can to make a strong family. And when I say that, I mean, of course, with your parents, if they're still alive, do what you can to have a better relationship with them. And some people don't have good relationships with their parents. Maybe you had problems when you were younger, but it's not too late now to work on it. I've done this with my own parents. I've gone through a period of time, back when I was younger, when I was a young adult, where my relationship with them maybe was weaker. I was less connected to them. I felt like they don't understand me. I don't understand them. But then I realized, wait a second, this is not good. I need to make an effort to understand them and to help them understand me. And we don't have to agree on everything because they're still my parents. They're my family. That's more important than agreeing about everything. And so I made and continue to make that effort. And so as a result, over years, then my relationship got better and better and better with them. It wasn't terrible before, but it has improved. And to do this with your own children of any age, whatever their age is. This is especially important in your family when you have when you have some issues, when you have a big disagreement, when maybe the relationship's not so good, be the leader in your family when necessary, and be the first one to contact them and say, let's work on this. We need to communicate. Do what you need to do, and don't quit. It takes time. Sometimes you may need months. Sometimes you need years to do this. Keep working at it because they are your family. They're your only family. You can also, if you like, you can do this. I encourage you, do this as much as you can with cousins or uncles or aunts or grandparents to try to grow that family again. I mean, we all have these kind of relationships, most of us, but a lot of them are kind of weak, right? The connections are not so great. So if you have a chance, like if you're older, you're more successful. If you have a chance, you can help a young cousin. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they need help with job advice or something like that, or help them if you can. Help them. Do what you can. Introduce them to somebody. Help them with some connections. Help them with their resume, their CV. Do whatever you can. Maybe you can't do a lot, but do what you can. Show that rebuild that stronger connection, relationship, loyalty in your own family. With your own family. And also, too, with those few very, very close friends you have in life. And their families, too, right? Because hopefully your close friends will have families. So not only your friend, but also their family, too. I'm not talking about just average friends that you just hang out with. I mean, those long friends you have over many years that you really, really trust. You can think of them as kind of family, too, or think of them as your people, part of your group. You've got to work at it, okay? It doesn't happen automatically, especially now when people moving around everywhere and all the propaganda from the schools and the media, and people are so isolated and so busy. It does take work, but be the leader and work on it. Next is faith. You have to find some kind of faith. Some kind of faith. Something bigger than you. Now, classically, this means religion, some kind of traditional religion. That would be the best choice, in my opinion. And, which one to choose? Choose the one from your culture and your tradition. I'm not going to tell you which one to choose. Or if the religion from your culture doesn't fit you somehow, then fine, choose another one. But you need that. And if you just really, 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 I can't do religion at all, then at least a philosophy, a traditional philosophy that has meaning and tradition. And why is tradition important? Because it's tested by time. Okay, tradition, this is another thing. The people of the lie have tried to attack tradition, make this word somehow negative, like it's boring or something. But tradition means the test of time, something that worked for hundreds of years. Many generations, sometimes thousands of years. It worked. It was powerful. It gave meaning. It helped people be happier. So a traditional faith, in my opinion, the best one is probably the traditional faith of your nation, of your culture. Choose that one. Find one that gives you purpose and meaning. If that doesn't work for you, then choose another one. Some people really, they don't want any kind of religion at all. Then a traditional philosophy. For example, Stoicism. Stoicism is a traditional philosophy going back to Rome, ancient Rome, again with the Romans. But it will give you strength. It will give you a feeling of purpose and strength and meaning in your life. So even that, a traditional philosophy, we need that. So family and faith. Number 3, truth, our best weapon of all. Truth, the red pill. Truth, the red pill truth. Red pill truth means the real truth, the deep truth, the truth that sometimes is ugly. That's why the topic today. These are ugly truths. They're ugly truths. I don't enjoy focusing on them. I don't enjoy thinking about them. I certainly am not happy that they are true. I'm certainly not happy to see this situation all around the world as I have traveled around the world. I'm not happy to see the unhappiness. I'm not happy to see this lack of meaning. I'm not happy to see the destruction, the corruption of goodness. I'm not happy to see the corruption of tradition. I'm not happy to see the corruption of so many unique, special, beautiful cultures, nations, people, religions. It angers me. It disgusts me. I'm not happy to see it, but truth is important. Just like Neo in the Matrix, you've got to take the red pill. When he woke up, it was an ugly truth in that movie, right? Neo wakes up, but it was his only chance to be free, and also his only chance to fight the lie, right? The Matrix is a lie. Watch that movie. It's a great movie. It's a good metaphor, that movie. The whole Matrix is a very big lie. The entire thing, right? When you're plugged into the Matrix before the red pill, Neo was living in a lie. In some ways, a pretty lie. In other ways, not so pretty. In the beginning of that movie, Neo, right, he feels kind of what I just described today. He feels something's wrong. He doesn't have a kind of purpose in his life. Something in his life feels empty. He's kind of isolated. But he can only see the lies at that point. When he wakes up, he takes the red pill. Of course, in the very beginning, it sucks. Okay, right? It's not fun for him. It's very painful. That red pill truth is super painful for him. But then he has the truth. And with the truth shall set you free. The truth, not lies. Lies will not set you free. Lies make you a slave. The truth shall set you free, even when it's an ugly truth, even when it's an unpleasant truth, even when it's a painful truth. The truth sets you free, because the truth gives you the chance to learn. When you have the truth, you can learn. When you have the truth, you can adapt, which means change. When you have the truth, you can get stronger. That's what Neo does. When he understands the truth, what the Matrix really is, well, then he becomes stronger. He starts to train, right? Morpheus, his coach in that movie, Morpheus coaches him, teaches him, trains him to fight back using the truth, the real situation. I think that's one of the big lessons of that movie that they're trying to tell us. That movie has a lot of deep messages, actually, quite deep. The truth will set you free. I mean, just imagine it's the same thing. Let's say, like have a friend, someone you think is your great friend. Well, it feels wonderful. Well, what if the truth? What if actually your friend is a liar? What if your friend is constantly doing bad things to you, to hurt you, to betray you, to cheat you, but you don't see it, right? They're constantly saying bad things about you to other people, gossiping, cheating from you, stealing from you, and you never see it. You think they're wonderful. Is that good? No, you're kind of a slave to them. It's terrible. When you find the truth, is it painful? Of course it's painful. You suddenly, I was betrayed by this person. I trusted them so much. I thought they were so great. You're going to feel terrible. Maybe sad, angry, depressed. Lots of emotions will come out. Painful emotions will come out when you learn that ugly, painful truth. But it will set you free because now you know the truth. So, well, of course, what are you going to do? Cut them from being your friend. You're going to eliminate them. If they cheated you, maybe you can do what you can to, get back money or whatever. If they were lying about you, you go and you talk to other people and you You say, hey, they lied to you. Here's the truth. You can start to have conversations, and you can take actions to improve, to have some purpose and meaning, so you can use that pain, that painful truth, and fight back against your enemy, who's actually your enemy. The truth will set you free. Truth. So how do we do this with all these things I'm talking about? You've got to become a truth seeker. Too many people are passive nowadays. There's no excuse because we have the internet now. We have lots of ways of communicating now. Yes, there's a lot of censorship. YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, lots of censorship. But there's still, the truth is out there. But you have to dig. You've got to go looking for it. And there's a whole lot of confusion out there. So it takes time. You have to have the patience and you have to have the energy to keep digging and keep looking. You see something in the news, don't just trust it. Right? Like the example I gave about the kid with the Indian. Don't just immediately believe it. Do not. I immediately knew something was wrong. I started looking and then I found the truth, which was very, very different. Well, this is going to happen again and again about everything. And the more you do this, it takes time, but then you'll get better. You start to get better. You start to learn the techniques of the fake news. You start to learn how they lie. You start to learn what lies they like to tell again and again and again. You start to get a better feeling for it. You start getting a better feeling for the truth. This is the same about everything. It's not just news. It's the same about education. Right? It's just like you with English. It's the same thing, right? They told you grammar and translation and grammar tests. Grammar and translation and grammar tests. Memorize all these lists of vocabulary. They told you that year after year after year. Lies, lies, lies. You had to find the truth. Right? And I'm guessing nobody gave it to you. You had to look for that truth. I'm guessing, probably, you went searching for the truth. There must be a better way. You had this idea in your mind. There must be a better way. You had a feeling. This is not quite right. Right? I can see the results are not so good in my life. You went searching for the truth. You became a truth seeker. And then you started to look. You started to find articles and videos and all kinds of things. You found me. You found Effortless English. Hopefully you joined my VIP program and you're actually doing it now and you're finding the truth because you're seeing the real world results. Not just the lies that are out there. This is a process. It takes time. You've got to do this in every part of your life. Every part of your life. You do the same thing. Yeah, it does take some time. It does take energy, but the truth will set you free. The truth is our weapon. This is how we take back our cultures, our families, our traditions, our lives, our freedom. And the fourth one, our fourth weapon. We have family, we have faith, we have truth, and our last weapon, honor, honor, honor. Honor is a strong virtue. In many ways, honor is a collection of virtues. It's kind of the summary of all other virtues. What does it mean to be honorable? Well, to be honorable means to actually live those virtues. It means to live a virtuous life. And not just one, but all of them together. The soft and the hard. The gentle and the strong. All together, honor. It means even when life is difficult, even when you have a challenge, you keep to your virtues. You do what is right. You do what is right. You're loyal to your people, even when it's difficult. You fight against the enemy, even when it looks hopeless. Honor. The word honor, I think of the knights, right? The great ideal of the knights. Actually, I think of the knights on both sides in during the Crusades. Right? Honor. No, were they all honorable? No, but there were great men of honor on both of those both sides of those battles. I think of the samurai, right? Those famous stories of the samurai. Honor, right? Where they would fight. They would fight to the death, doing what was right, loyal to their clan, loyal to their virtues, even when it meant death. That's the extreme version of honor. So honor includes that courage, that strength to do what is right. Our enemy, these people of the lie, they want to make us cowards, constantly fearful and weak. Honor is a good weapon against that. So it's these four, in my opinion, these four: family, faith, truth, and honor. Family, faith, truth, and honor. In education, in your family, in our communities, in our businesses, in all parts of our societies. I will see you next time. Commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Commit today at effortlessenglishclub.com. Go now to effortlessenglishclub.com.